Everybody, John Diadamo here, aka One Scoop John. Welcome everybody to CFB After Dark. I'm not Ben, but that's okay. We're gonna press on in his absence. I hope he's having great times, and he'll be back, I'm sure, soon. Everybody, click on the like button if you like this content. Do that. We have a lot to talk about, so I want to bring on our all-star panelists here. Hey, everybody.
What's going on, John?
How you doing, John?
What's going on, guys?
I'm doing good. Go Blue. I'm ready to play some real teams coming up. So
Same.
Let's do it. So we got a lot to talk about. Everybody who may not have heard, Arizona State has just fired Herm Edwards.
You play to lose your job.
Yeah.
He certainly did. He certainly did.
In the midst of a still ongoing NCAA investigation, a loss to the Eastern Michigan Eagles the other day, just not looking too great. His overall record not too shabby, above 50%, which is about where Arizona State's been for the last 3 decades. What are your reactions? Was it too soon? Did it take too long to do this? Was it about right? What do we think?
It should have happened last year.
Yeah, too long.
Or the year before that.
Yeah. Well, when it's interesting because there was the COVID year where I think most teams, unless you're named Alabama or Ohio State or Clemson, most teams struggle bust in 2020. But Arizona State went 7-8 wins most of the other years with Herm. So I'm just kind of curious, and please, people in the comments, let us know, what should coaching standards be? Because not everybody can make the playoff. Even Michigan, we don't always expect to make the playoff. In fact, there was a couple of years there we were just like, can we just make a bowl? Can we just get to 7, 8, 9 wins, get back to where we were? And Harbaugh helped do that. But what do we think? An Arizona State or even a Nebraska or somebody who they fire their consistent coach and then they get a Scott Frost who has 1, 2, 3 wins a year, right? Yeah. There's a danger there, right?
Yeah, John. Speaking of Michigan, there's an old saying about a blind squirrel finding a nut every once in a while. No, just kidding, buddy. No, people have unrealistic expectations. You could call that the Nick Saban effect if you want. But the unrealistic expectations of, lower tier, and always been lower tier programs. Yeah, a New Year's Six bowl should be their pinnacle. They should have realistic expectations. But as far as making the college football playoff, man, that's between maybe 6 teams a year.
Well, and the problem with Arizona State, though, is that Arizona State historically, going back to when they were in the WAC, was a national power. And they're in a recruiting hotbed. They are in a big city. They are the most beautiful people in the world go there. It's pretty easy school to get people into student-wise. It's also a good school. It's right next to California. They have every advantage in the world, and they've just spent a fortune completely rebuilding their stadium, and state-of-the-art athletics facility for their team on top of it. There's literally nothing that you could want for that you don't get at Arizona State, and they shouldn't be 7-win team. They should be a 10-win team. This should be the premier program of the country, as it was in the 60s and 70s and 80s and into the 90s until it just fell off a cliff at the beginning of the 2000s. And so I think that there's a lot of things that are really, really kind of missing there. But Arizona State does not just have a coaching problem. They have an athletic department problem. And just similar to Colorado, who actually goes up to, they have a CEO level problem. But the problem with Arizona State is that until they fix their athletic department problem, where their athletic director is the second highest paid AD in the country, they're not going to fix their coaching problem.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, piggyback on what Tony said, going back to Frank Kush, there's some great teams. At one point, USC had a losing record against ASU. And that started actually when Frank Kush was there. It was a WAC team. The Arizona is one of the, as far as talent's concerned, is huge now in recruiting. The number of 5-stars and studs coming out of Arizona is increasing every year with demographic shifts in population. And there is absolutely no reason. Again, if you look at the coaching hires they've had there, Dennis Erickson had some great seasons down there. Even Todd Graham, when he first got there in the early, like in 2012, 2013, they've had 11, 10 win seasons down there, fairly often enough. There is the possibility to win down there. There are the players down there, and again, with the facilities, there is the support from the administration. So they just need to make the right hire.
I don't think they should have ever fired Todd Graham, in my opinion. I think he should have had a bit of a longer time to get ASU to the next level.
Well, he started out hot. Yeah, this is the problem. You start out hot, and then you start sliding. You started with 10-win seasons, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of maybe Washington's getting hot, Oregon's getting hot, Stanford's out recruiting you, whatever the reason. When you go from those 10-win seasons and you start sliding to 6 and 5, 7-win seasons, the fan base does get a bit antsy.
So I'm following presidential debate rules here, and Tide guys, since Saban and Alabama were mentioned, I am curious what your take is Saban creating this unrealistic expectation for some of these other schools?
Of course.
I think he's really creating it, but I think it actually started even a little bit before him. Now, I'm an old guy, so I remember when a team would hire a coach and he was given 4 to 5 years to build the program. And then it kind of went 3 to 4, and now you got teams that, since Saban did it in 3 years, he came back in the second year we went and almost made, the championship game, but the third year we did and won it. It's unrealistic. I mean, unless you're a USC, a Notre Dame, a big true blue blood, even Texas can do it. Oklahoma can do it, but you take small teams like Arizona State, it's going to take 3 to 4 years to really build that program.
Yep. And
they got to give the coaches that time.
Yeah. And so Herb did have, since 2018, and I was looking back at the records and it seems like John Cooper was the last coach at Arizona State in the mid 80s that had most others had in the 500 or 550 win-loss ratio. John Cooper actually had he won 20. He was 25-9-2. So it has happened, and maybe they could get back to there. Who knows?
Yeah, they definitely could.
They definitely could. I mean, every ingredient you could want is there at Arizona State.
Yeah.
And you're not you're also, I mean, the Pac-12 is competitive, but it's not like the SEC West. So, there's really everything you could want there and every reason that they should be successful. And I think that's part of their frustration and why they're not successful.
Right. I mean, there's always been this idea that Arizona State has been a sleeping giant out in the West. And, maybe you don't go that far, but, I've heard, that program described like that. And because of the things, that's already been mentioned, just the, the recruiting ground, the type of school, the type of administrative support you get, I hear the same stuff about Arizona State that used to be said about Clemson before they really, rose up, because, they're sitting, Clemson's sitting in SEC recruiting grounds, and, they've, had success in the past, and we're just wallowing in, mediocrity because they didn't have the right guy. But then they hired the right guy, and all of a sudden, things changed. It was unorthodox in the way he was hired, but maybe that's something that Arizona State has to do. But Arizona State definitely has the when they're at their best and when they're operating at peak efficiency, they certainly can be a power out west. So
and in 1996 season, if they would have won the Rose Bowl over Ohio State, they would have won the national championship. Arizona State, they were in position to win the national championship. So there's definitely potential in Arizona State. Maybe not getting back to that spot, but at least getting to a consistent 10-win program.
LW had a very good comment right there just a second ago. People are going to treat programs like Arizona State, Colorado, or these mid-tier, Pac-12, Big 12. It doesn't matter
Nebraska
what conference you're
as
in.
well.
They're gonna treat them as stepping stone jobs.
Or you have a coach that's treating it as a retirement job, like an Urban Meyer who's been mentioned now for Arizona. He's been mentioned for Nebraska. He's talked to Nebraska, and he's flown to Nebraska now, reportedly. So that could be the alternative, is somebody just this is their last job. Like maybe a Brian Kelly is kind of what I'm thinking. That's what he's doing at LSU. Maybe that's the other group that they could pull from.
I agree, T-Duck. Notre Dame is a stepping stone job. Nah.
Didn't used to be.
No, I'm just
Used to
messing
be
with
the Holy Grail.
Just messing with Will.
So in addition to Arizona State, we also recently had a Nebraska firing, which we talked about last week. They just fired their DC as well, apparently, because Trev Albert said that the interim coach Mickey will be able to make any further personnel decisions that he sees fit for the program. They made one. Who do we think Nebraska could actually pull in?
Well, first of all, I want to quick thank Dave Valensky for the super chat. Dave, we really appreciate that. And on that relates to John to what you're talking about. He's asking, after the non-conference games played by the Big Ten, we think the Big Ten is underperforming. Certainly, the Big Ten West is underperforming, and it starts with Nebraska.
Yeah, and this is something we've been talking about the last couple of hours in different chats and things, like what's up with the Big Ten. Well, the answer partially is that we're still in non-con. We haven't played anybody yet. Ohio State played Notre Dame and two teams that are more considered cupcakes. Notre Dame is decent team, right? Most of the time. But then when you go to the rest of the rest of it, you do see Rutgers overperforming, beating Boston College, not bad. There are some success stories, but overall, yeah, it's weak. There's no doubt about it. We need to see what they do in conference play. And the Big Ten East is a meat grinder. We know this. The Big Ten East, especially. Big Ten West, maybe not as much, but the Big Ten East, that is a tough division. So I wonder if that's part of the calculus of why the non-conference was so easy. Is that for Michigan, for example, we have to play some extremely tough teams. Ohio State every year, Penn State every year. They just whooped Auburn. So there's a little bit of both, but I would agree that Big Ten is underperforming as of right now.
Definitely, most definitely, and the Pac-12 is outperforming right now.
Yeah,
I actually think the Pac-12 is back to about its normal performing. I mean, if they were outperforming, they would have beaten Oklahoma State, a couple of beaten Mississippi State. They're just normal performing again. The problem is, especially to some younger folks who really have only really come into the sport in the last couple of years. You guys don't realize that most of these programs are used to destroying people. I mean, Arizona State to play Arizona State was not something you wanted to do. They weren't a school that would just go there and get whacked by a MAC team.
Or even recently, right, Tony? Even recently,
yeah.
In more recent times. You talk about maybe 5-6 years ago. You didn't want to play Stanford. You didn't want to play Oregon. You didn't want to play Washington. These were big players on a national level.
UCLA used to go and whip people. So these were it was normal that when you went to play a Pac-12 team, you probably would get whooped. And I mean, Arizona would come in, or not Arizona, I'm sorry. Arkansas would come in and drop 2 in a row. Auburn would just get shellacked twice in a row. Nebraska got whipped twice in a row. Ohio State got beaten by USC at home and then humiliated by USC in the Coliseum. So these were more normal things. And so to see the conference back to being normal, not great, but normal, is something that to some of the folks, especially the younger folks, under 25 or 30, you might not be as used to that because you weren't following football very closely when they used to just thwomp people. So they're just kind of normal right now, which is good.
Yeah. So I was getting some Josh Gaddis flashbacks with this. We're gonna go into some games this weekend that we saw, and I was in Traveling Fools channel for a bit, and I'm hopefully Traveling Fools stops by again. That's always a treat. But A&M did beat Miami, and I saw flashbacks of Josh Gaddis play calling in the Georgia playoff game with this slow developing these negative 1 yard plays, these reverses, these things that just a good team, a good defense, like a DJ Durkin A&M defense with 5 stars all over the field, they're going to blow that up just like Georgia with 5 stars all over the field blew that up. So good for Jimbo. He got a win against a decent team. What were people's thoughts on that game?
Well, it's easy to blame, the play calling in that game. Obviously, the offensive performance for Miami wasn't up to snuff. But I don't know. When you watch that game, I felt like there were plays that Miami could have had. I really thought a lot of it was, personnel, decisions and, some of their wide receivers. I feel like just let them down a lot. There were plays to be had. Tyler Van Dyke, he didn't play amazing, but I thought he threw some really good balls, and there were a lot of drops. Miami outgained Texas A&M by 150 yards. I don't think people realize that. Miami possessed the ball for almost 35 minutes of game time. So Miami controlled the clock. I think some really ill-timed turnovers. Obviously, they had that muff punt in A&M territory that gave them one of their touchdown drives. So just I felt like there were some errors from that you would expect to see from a really young, inexperienced team that's not really used to playing at that level. So I'm not sure it was necessarily the play calling for Miami. I really think that team is just still inexperienced. They're still going through growing pains. I thought they played hard. I was impressed with Miami's defense. Obviously, A&M's offense hasn't been anything to write home about, but still on the road against an SEC team, a really good, a good SEC team, good environment, and holding your own. I thought that was impressive. So, but Jimbo, good for Jimbo. They desperately needed that win.
They really did. And Gaddis, the other thing to just keep in mind is that Gaddis is also the wide receivers coach.
Yeah.
So although not all of his plays suck, when you have these consistent drops by the wide receivers, that's also something I remember quite well from 2019 to 2021 at Michigan. Some of the best wide receivers we've ever had, and they keep dropping balls. And he's been the wide receivers coach, and he is at Miami as well. So maybe something to look at.
Yeah. Well, and that was Miami's problem last year too. They've consistently had underperforming wide receiver play. They had a lot of drops last year. They don't really have any sure-handed guys right now, and the one that they do have did not play. Xavier Restrepo was out for that game, and you could tell that they missed him because that's I think he's Tyler Van Dyke's roommate. They have a lot of chemistry. Yeah, they really missed them. They really missed him last night.
Yeah, it reminds me of Dell Alexander, wide receiver play at Notre Dame, man.
Yeah.
Those wide receivers dropping balls. I'm like, oh, bring back painful memories.
That's why I'm rooting for Chancey Stuckey. He's one of our own, Clemson alum. I was young when he played, but I still remember him. So
here's the thing, you guys. We're talking about Miami, located in South, Florida, Dade County, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to be picking the best. That is the hotbed for insane wide receivers. And what I liked about Miami is they looked like they could play with them on the field, especially where I thought they were going to get destroyed in the trenches. They actually fought, and that was a good sign. This is year one, and us as fans always have to remember, these are new coordinators, new systems, kids just getting their feet wet in game 3. This game played maybe in week 7 might be a bit different. Do you know what I mean? So we got to give it a little time. I saw a couple of cracks on Cristobal as game management and play calling. There's a lot of concern that he's too conservative. I even hear it now from Miami fans. But remember this: he's also an amazing recruiter, and sometimes having that hotbed of talent. We'll see how Miami evolves over the next couple of years. I'm pretty sure they're going to be knocking down some top recruiting classes.
And I'm also calling out our Oregon fans because there has been like this laughable thing. It's very Oklahoma of you guys. Don't do this. It's not cool when Oklahoma does. When Mario Cristobal left Oregon fans were beside themselves and outraged and furious that he left and morose and all that. And now that Miami had one game that didn't go well, they're all trying to be like, I told you he wasn't any good. Come on, Oregon fans. You loved him. He's great.
Yeah, I think it was more pronounced with Oklahoma, though.
Oh no, it is. But
people
there,
in Oregon
I think Oregon
understood.
Yeah, I think Oregon is learning from them,
home.
and like Oregon, stop it. Don't act like Oklahoma, Oregon. It's not becoming.
That's good thing to let them know about. So we've got some other key games from this weekend. Penn State was one of the few teams that kind of that their back is breaking from carrying the Big Ten. They did a great job against Auburn, and Clifford is what Clifford is. He has his really great moments. He has his questionable moments, but he did pretty well. But their running back situation, I don't know what it is, but James Franklin is able to get these running backs that are just all time. And Singleton is just I feel like another in a line that includes Barkley and others of just like they've had a pretty decent running game. So what for the Penn State side, just really I think that was an impressive. I think it was a decent win. I'll call it a decent win. Thoughts?
Brian Harson's seat is getting hotter as we speak, man. That was ugly for Auburn. Good win for Penn State, but man, Auburn looked bad.
Didn't someone just say that Brian Harson's being considered for the Arizona State job?
Yeah, he is actually on the list, believe it or not. And I'm 100% against it. I think they ought to give him a 50-year contract at Auburn and let him stay.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah,
I'm sure you do. I don't detect any bias or homerism at all in that.
No.
The number one, and I think you're right, David, and he plays like the number one rated running back. They did it again. Penn State did it again. They've done it before. They did it again. So just some other really good games this weekend. We kind of started the weekend with Florida State beating Louisville, and just despite the fact that their quarterback went down, they were able to rally, and with some help from their backup quarterback and their defense, just getting a great interception of Malik Cunningham. I've been really impressed with Florida State and their resiliency this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. Just everything that has plagued Florida State, these past few years, it seems has been like drastically better. I feel like the offensive line is in the best shape it's been in a very long time, at least since 2017. Man, they've had some horrendous offensive lines in the past, and it seems like they've really overhauled that unit. Alex Atkins, their offensive line coach and now offensive coordinator, I feel like he's done a phenomenal job. I think they've utilized the transfer portal probably as good as anybody since the one-time transfer rule has taken effect. I feel like they've really gotten the most and found some gems. And you saw one of them that on Friday night, Johnny Wilson from Arizona State. He was phenomenal. He's the kind of receiver that Florida State has been missing. That room has been decimated for a while now, and he brings an added juice. The guy just goes up and gets whatever's thrown at him. And I'm sure Tim, I think Tim remembers Wilson when he was at Arizona State and how he had a lot of drops and, he wasn't, a very consistent guy. But, Florida State did a good job of finding a diamond in the rough there. And, he really worked on himself and he's really improved. And he's the kind of guy that they've missed. And so I was really impressed with him. And obviously Tate Rodemaker coming in for Jordan Travis. It looked a little shaky when he first came in. He threw that interception. But I think he regrouped at halftime, and I thought he played about as well as you could ask of him. And I was one of his doubters. I was like, I don't think, man, if Travis goes down, I don't think they're going to be in very good shape. But they looked great.
Do we know
That's
the
the measure of a
timetable?
good team.
The one thing I would like to say, and we'll close your ears real quick, but they beat LSU off the start, and we all make fun of Kelly and this and that. But the way LSU played yesterday, I mean, came back against Mississippi State. That win, them beating LSU actually looks a lot better now. And even though Louisville didn't play that well when they played Syracuse, they came back the next week and did real well. And I think they played great against Florida State. So I think Florida State, is a little ahead of schedule this year. I think they are a lot better than what we thought they were. And, if they continue playing like they are, they could cause some havoc in the ACC.
Yeah, I thought when Travis went down, that was it. Like, I think maybe, were we in chat, you guys? I'm not sure if we were. We were in the stream room?
Yeah.
I'm like, there you go. That's it. But yeah, he came in. What's his name again?
Tate Rodemaker.
Yeah. Rodemaker came in and just really did an admirable job. He's not getting a lot of first team reps. Comes in there and steps up like a champ. And then getting back to what you said about Johnny Wilson, that kid came with all the accolades. USC was all over him, wanted him badly. He went to ASU. He had some drops and some issues. But, that's probably some freshmen. Mike Williams, a famed USC receiver, had lots, not the Clemson one, had huge drops his freshman year. You get those yips, and they get going and they kind of build. But man, talk about who here would not want that dude in the red zone or on 3rd and 5. That guy is just a force. So I think Fresno State. The other FSU, Florida State is looking really, really sharp.
Do we know the timetable for Travis? Have they given that out yet? I haven't seen it.
He tweeted out after the game. He said good news. So I don't know if they've actually formally come out with a timetable, but it seems like he's going to be good to go pretty soon. Maybe he doesn't play this week. Or I'm blanking on. Does Florida State even play somebody this week? I can't even remember.
Boston College.
Well. Don't get me started on BC. They have some splaining to do. They owe me an apology. But yeah, Florida State. I think they're in good shape, and I think Travis will be good to go.
You put your faith in BC?
I did before the season. I thought they were a team to watch, and that's what I get for believing in BC for once. Jesus.
Well, there's always next year. You never know. So just let's see here. We got Boston College might be worse than Colorado. That's a big statement.
I wouldn't go that far.
That Colorado is in rough straits right now.
Yeah, Colorado's in such rough straits that their athletic director, I don't know if you guys have seen, it's worth checking out. Their athletic director literally released a "we're sorry, we're terrible" message today to the world.
Yep.
Can I read that statement?
Why don't you?
Yeah. So hold on.
That is not gonna have the desire. That is not gonna have the desired effect. It's gonna piss. It's gonna piss people. It's like throwing gasoline on the fire. But go ahead.
Director of Athletics Rick George says, "Dear Buffalo supporters, like all of you, I've been disappointed to watch our football team struggle this fall, most recently at Minnesota. I know that our coaches and student athletes are capable of so much more, that all of you deserve better results. I want you to know that I hear you. I recognize and understand your disappointment and frustration and perhaps even anger. We have not come close to meeting our expectations this season, and we own that. I know that Coach Durrell, our coaching and support staff, and our student athletes are working hard to get us on track. And with the conference play starting this Saturday, we hope we all will enjoy a home victory over UCLA. Regardless of your feelings right now on Colorado football, I encourage you to continue to support our tremendous football student athletes. We need your cheers, encouragement, and support now more than ever.
Yeah.
Is
and-
that wait? Hold on. Was that signed Lynn Swan by any chance?
I think it was.
I'm
Lynn
just
Swan, the new athletic director in Colorado.
Good Lord,
Rick
that sounds
George is
replaced-
just a pseudonym. That,
So when I saw that, and maybe you guys thought the same thing, but when I first looked at that on Twitter, it looked like a getting fired letter. Like the way that they formatted that letter looks exactly the same as when somebody gets fired.
we
So I
decided
was
to make
like-
a change in the leadership of our football program.
Right.
That's what you expected to read that.
Right. And I was thinking, okay, so Colorado just fired their coach too. So they just joined the Arizona State bandwagon. But I guess not. But this must be like a preemptive strike. Like basically saying if this continues, we are going to make a change at the end of the season.
It's kind of the kiss of death because it happens a lot.
Why would you think that? Everything looks great at Colorado. There are no dumpster fires.
It's kind of the kiss of death. I mean,
Nothing is on fire in Colorado.
Every school has its examples. The examples versus the most recent one I can think of is 4 games before Kiffin was fired on the tarmac. There was a release statement saying by Hayden saying, "I have every confidence in Coach Kiffin's ability to lead us." You see that stuff all the time. It's not really worth the paper the statement's written on, typed on. So I mean, you be ready. It's coming.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things too, going back to the problems that USC had was that Colorado hasn't really made the type of football investments that are sort of necessary to compete. And so they may be in a situation like USC was in where it's going to take them a year or two of, people that have finally said we've had it, and they have to build that up before they can actually get the type of coach that they want. And it's because when Mike Bohn was looking to hire coaches, he actually told the USC president, I can't hire the coach that I want right now because you don't have the facilities, you don't have the support staff, you don't have the infrastructure that we need. And it's going to take us probably 2 years to build that. And that's why Clay Helton stayed as long as he did. So, I mean, I don't know if, President Salomon, who is relatively a new president there, the chancellor's been there for a long time, the AD's been there for a while. Colorado's got CEO level problems that need CEO level solutions. And I think they start much higher than Carl Durrell.
Well, and I don't know what the real number is, Tony, but I had heard today that ESPN said it's like $50 to $60 million more if the Pac-12 gets rid of Colorado, that they will give them an extra 50 to 60 million in their TV contract. So
they probably should. I mean, the thing is in all honesty, Colorado's at the point. I mean, and Denver's a phenomenal market, and Colorado has had great fans and great players. I mean, you don't have to be that old to remember Jeremy Bloom and heck, Joel Klatt. Colorado has always mattered, and there's probably a pretty good case to be made in this era of realignment that being a total dumpster fire is probably not good, even if you're in a pretty good market.
Well, and think about this. Colorado State is in the same situation, and it wasn't that long ago when Colorado State was good,
Well, the thing is, that separates a lot of these is, Colorado is one of the few schools in the Pac-12 that have a national championship. They needed 5 downs to do it, but they do have a national championship, which not many teams around, really, if you think about the whole grand scheme of things, 130 plus teams, not many teams can say that they have a national championship. And for all the reasons that Tony said, with the Denver market, with great fan base, with putting tons of dudes into the NFL over the years, it's just when they got to the Pac-12, they've just done nothing. Utah's the antithesis. Utah's been leading the conference for the past 2 years, but Colorado just showed up and from day one and just hasn't contributed.
Doesn't Colorado have a more recent national championship than Notre Dame?
They do.
They do by a couple of years. Yeah.
I will say, and I don't want to get on I don't want to go on a tangent, but that national championship is a little fraudulent. But
we should have had at least a share in '93 as well. So,
okay, before we start diving into history and who would win, we have some super chats that we really should honor. So Christopher Morgan, thank you for your $10 donation. JS fresh start next year, and hopefully a new JS, and hopefully a new look on offense next year. Got to give
Marcus
Marcus
Freeman.
Freeman.
Marcus Freeman, yeah.
Marcus Freeman, 2 full years. I agree. Get the guys in. Yep, to see results. Tommy should start looking towards the NFL. Who do you think the next OC? Well, there's going to be a market for OCs, I feel like. So Dan Mullen's still just sitting in a freaking broadcasting booth.
No, bad fit. Can't recruit. Bad fit.
Who needs just like an X's and O's guy? That's like the Dan Mullen fit.
And
But
the
if
thing
you
is,
need a
though,
recruiter,
well, you don't really look to your OCs to be your recruiters. I mean, their system is the recruiting. Then you
Well-
have your position coaches do the recruiting.
Well, and think of
It
what Mullen
depends.
did at Mississippi State. I mean, he's not a bad coach, but you don't want him as the head coach. But as an OC, he would be a good guy.
Christopher
And
Morgan.
thank you, Christopher Morgan, by the way.
Thank you, Christopher.
$20 donation. Thank you for, and I know Mark appreciates it too. So I'm a diehard ND fan, but to be honest, we dropped from 50th to season is a wrap. I don't know about completely a wrap, but
I don't think it's a wrap because of the guys that like Jared Patterson isn't coming back. Isaiah Foskey isn't coming back. Michael Mayer isn't coming back. Brandon Joseph isn't coming back. Cam Hart isn't coming back. We're having a ton of final guys of their last year at Notre Dame. We gotta at least get a signature win over Clemson or SC, and at least like get to a good bowl game this year and win that too. I mean, I feel like the season isn't completely done. Like even Michigan after they lost to App State, they lost to Oregon too. They still beat a Tim Tebow Florida team in a bowl game. I feel like we can at least win a good bowl game and beat a rival. So
Well, you guys do have a really good defense, but do you think you're going to hold USC to 10 points?
we'll score a bit on SC. Like our
Really?
O-line
You did
already-
very well
our
on Cal.
O-lines looked good agast Cal. So
Are you
I
gonna
feel
get
like
the same
we'll get
refs?
together.
Because you might be able to get some more touchdowns off those refs. You sure didn't earn them.
Now, John, can I
Yeah.
ask you a question?
Yep.
We were talking earlier about coaching and how long you give them, and you brought up the point about the playoffs. We'll go from 4 teams to 12 teams. So
Yes.
now that there's 8 more teams, does that put more pressure on coaches? Because you know what I mean? There's more chances. So now if you don't make a playoff, you can't use, there's only 4. Well, now there's 12. So does that cut the time frame you give a coach?
It's still a very small fraction of the 30 something programs or whatever it is.
Right. No, and I agree. I think you give a coach minimum 3 years. I mean, you got to give him, but I'm wondering, now that some, colleges only give 2 or 3 years, do they get the concept that, hey, now there's more chances, you really should do it?
Yeah.
I guess, one more. You
I
guys
agree with you. 3 years.
We missed this one as well. Erica, a great supporter of
just
all
about
of
to
our
say that,
channels and a great Hawkeye fan. How about our 7-hour game yesterday?
We got Iowa after dark last night.
Yeah.
That was
we did.
And before dawn. It was really Iowa before dawn.
That's true.
Corey was on it at the stadium, and he was giving us like a play-by-play of the Lightning and everything that was going on. So
I have a question for you guys, and I'm just thinking about what this Iowa game sort of brought up and brought to light in terms of discussions. It made me think that like during weather, most of these schools have indoor facilities, and I'm sure Iowa does. Somebody in the chat, tell me if they don't. It made me think that at a certain point, like you need to just move the game indoors, finish it on have like emergency camera positions that you could move in an hour and just finish the game inside. I mean, that might be a once in a decade type thing. But
What
that
do you do
seems
to
like
80,000 fans that paid tickets to watch the game?
well, but after the 6 hours of game that was postponed, like there's a certain point where you just you got to finish. You got to do the game.
Let's just have the Hawkeyes play all of their games in the Rose Bowl, and then we won't have this problem.
There you go. There
do
will be
wanna
enough
tell
seats for all their
Erica,
fans too.
Can I tell Erica, I do believe that the Iowa new tradition of waving to the hospital, that is the greatest tradition right now in college football. I mean,
It is really cool.
Great.
Did Iowa get a first down? They got a bunch of first downs. They found an offense for the first time in a while. I mean, it wasn't exactly against like Alabama's defense or anything, but
so you're saying Bob Stoops' advice worked? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And Hayden, you're right, by the way. But no, and I'm not talking about like a sort of easy thing, but like hey, we've got to play a game, and the weather's not lightening up, not getting up to a certain amount of time, because you can still put it on TV.
Yeah, and there is also the danger. I remember it was in the NFL, but it was I want to say the Las Vegas Raiders. Even though they had that nice new stadium with the that's domed, I believe, that they still, I want to say it was the Raiders. It was either the Raiders or the Rams. It was one of the new stadiums, and they still had to shut for a lightning delay because I guess like a small portion was
open,
exposed. So you have to even watch out for indoor venues and make sure that they're fully enclosed in order to do that. Yeah. All right, we're gonna get back. Yes, Iowa has great corn. So we're gonna get back to some topics. So Washington, I put here Washington whoops Michigan State because even though the score said it was a little closer, even though the score said it was a little closer, Michael Penix just imposed his will over Tuck, who came for that L. Versus Washington. So was that $95 million guaranteed contract maybe slightly premature? And this might be my bias talking, but he basically got it for winning 2 games against Michigan and having a better than expected season last year.
No, he got it because Nick Saban left them, and they were afraid that Mel Tucker would leave them again.
Yeah, that is also true.
And one of the walk-ons to their basketball teams happens to be I think, mortgage broker billionaire.
Oh, nice.
Well, I mean, again, you got to give. I think we're looking at this the wrong way. Is Michigan State bad, or is Washington really that good? Because there's a couple things involved here. Last year Michigan State's pass defense was horrible. They were like last in the country. Mm-hmm. And you're going up against a Michael Penix, and the Boers got that offense rolling. He's got a great connection. I'm sorry, the receiver, he was also the receiver at Washington is catching all those touchdowns. They've got a connection, and I've seen that the whole season, and I knew that was going to be trouble for Washington State. For Michigan State. So maybe we're looking at the wrong way. Maybe we're attacking Mel Tucker and saying, yeah, you're right. Maybe he needs to fix his pass defense. But I think that Washington's for real. I think Washington has a great offense. And Penix is that big arm, and he's showing that he can use it when he gets protection. So
Polk was really impressive with 153 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. Penix himself had a 91 QBR, 397 yards. So I'll back you up on that one. They really did have an impressive performance, and they've looked, 3-0. Did anybody think they were going to? I didn't think they were going to go 3-0 after last season. So they're impressing with DeBoer. I agree.
I still think that, I don't know. I feel like once Tucker gets his guys in, I feel like they'll be able to compete. I mean, maybe not like with Michigan, but I feel like they can definitely be like a 9-win team.
How many undefeated against Michigan?
What's up?
He's undefeated against Michigan.
That's true.
Yeah. And I don't know. Like I knew Kalen DeBoer did well at Fresno State. Like I just didn't expect the guy to turn Pause and Washington around that quickly. I was impressed.
But I think it is a little bit of both, though. I mean, Washington, I think, really is a lot better. And I do think Michigan State has fallen just a little bit, so it's a little bit of combination of both. But I do think that Washington is not going to get the respect they deserve for that win.
I think it's too early to say that they've turned the program around. We're 3 games into the season. Come on.
You can say, I don't think it's too premature. If you could think about what Washington was last year, how lethargic I mean, we trash, Iowa's offense and stuff. Washington's offense was every bit as bad last year. They were horrible, and they couldn't do much of anything offensively. They had a great defense. They had the best pass defense in the country, I think. Statistically, they had an NFL secondary, and they wasted that defense. So I just to go from that to putting up a ton of yards per game and throwing it all over the field. I mean, that's such a marked improvement. I don't think you can just say, oh, that's it's 3 games in. That doesn't mean. I think there's some significant.
We're 3 games in. That doesn't mean 3 games means nothing.
Washington's issue was not on the defense side of the ball. It was just a really stagnant, bad offense. And again, what DeBoer's done, the guy's name's McMillan is the receiver that I was trying to remember the name of. That kid is good. He's a sophomore this year. He was thinking about hitting the transfer portal, but again, I think he had like 5 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns in the first 2 games. They just have a hell of a connection. And you're right. And I mean, before I get you, you're right. It's only 3 games into the season. But man, the way they're playing compared to where I agree with both of you guys, Jordan, the way they're playing compared to last year is night and day. So turn around, meaning are they going to be a playoff contender? Are they going to play for the Pac? I think they might be in the hunt for the Pac-12. But are they going to be a top 10 team? No, probably not.
No.
He's absolutely turned his program around.
Yeah, it was not trending in the right direction. I mean, by definition, he turned it. I mean, just from the way they were trending. And you got to remember, Washington is one of the most talented teams.
Poor Will.
Dang, that's tough. Sorry, Will. Will's going to be catching a lot of strays, it seems, tonight. But
okay, can I say something about the OC? Like, maybe I wouldn't mind Mullen, but like I feel like he has to have a co-OC. Like, if we can get Joe Brady or like Brian Hartline to be the co-OC, I think that would be good for Notre Dame's offense. But we gotta get Tommy out.
Yeah.
If the offense doesn't get marginally better, like I don't know, like this how
the Buckner loss was kind of rough. Like I give
even
with
TB, like the offense wasn't looking good.
Hey, Brandon, how's Buckner rated as a quarterback? Is he one of the better ones?
66th in the country, according to Athlon Sports. And their new starting quarterback, Drew Pine, wasn't even bothered to be ranked.
Well, that would
Will, I'll help you out. I'll give you Alabama's offensive coordinator.
That's really generous, Tide.
I mean, come on. He led us to a national championship game. Come on. I will do that for you, Will.
Not Bill O'Brien. No, that's as bad as Tommy. No.
Michigan. Yes, I agree with you, West Branch Ball. Michigan does need to treat Michigan State like an actual threat, and that's why Harbaugh at the start of the season, 4 goals, beat Michigan State was the first one, then beat Ohio State, then the championship, then the national. But Michigan State was specifically mentioned, and I think part of that is because we're still pretty salty about that L last year, and I think at the Big House with all those people, we'll see what happens this year.
I mean, with 27 after that 2017 game, I feel like you guys always have to make Sparty a threat because like they look so bad against us, but so good against you. So like, I don't know, Sparty, they're just dangerous against you guys. I don't know.
They are
how they are so dangerous, but they just are.
It's true. So we did have some almost upsets, and we have been talking about Notre Dame a bit, but so you did get a win. Good job. You did get a win against Cal. Does this give you some hope, Will? That because it sounds like you're still kind of high on maybe 8 wins for Notre Dame or somewhere. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but somewhere in that echelon of predictions. So it gives you a little bit of something to go on, right?
Yeah, our O-line looked a lot better against Cal. Like I feel like we dominated the line of scrimmage, which we weren't doing. So it's already a marginal improvement on the Marshall game. So I feel like if we can dominate the line of scrimmage against Ohio State, get pressure onto Drake May, we can make it more of a dogfight. And if we can put up enough points to get to Drake May, I Brandon's not buying it, but I feel like we have a great chance of beating UNC.
It really helps too if you miss a field goal if the referees just invent more penalties.
Listen, we've all been screwed by ref calls, and you know what matters is the scoreboard. And you
Don't
want
break your
the
neck,
scoreboard.
But you know when the Pac-12 is making fun of your officiating, that it has fundamental problems.
Yeah.
Like to its core, fundamental problems. When the Pac-12 is like, wow, those are some bad refs.
Has there been any announcement? Because you know when it's like a really bad call that they issue some BS on Twitter or something.
So John Wilner said the Pac-12 does it on Monday. Again, Pac-12, they know how to do this. There's a process. They released the statements on Monday. So he said it was an ACC crew, and he's curious to see if they'll be releasing a statement on Monday, like the Pac-12 does.
I don't know
Regularly.
why you guys complain. I think Alabama always has pretty decent refs at their games.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. That's what Brandon Walker says on a regular basis.
Yeah.
To answer Shoelace Sooner right there, he said, D4 Sports, what are you thinking of the timeline for OU Texas moving to the SEC? OU was asked to cancel the Georgia game in 2023 by the SEC. Not sure what that means. I think it means that we're going in 2023. And to be honest, the sooner the better.
Well, they said it was next year.
Was it? Is it 24?
I thought, yeah.
It's because they're not canceling a game in 23.
Yeah, we play you next year. It won't be 23 for 3 reasons, D4. One, the ESPN money don't go until 2024. 2, we're still playing you as non-conference. We would have canceled that game also if you guys were coming. It would have been changed to a conference game.
Well, I know. But he was saying that they were asked to cancel the game with Georgia in 2023. But you know,
well, because the second leg of their game of their home and home is like in 2031. So I don't you don't get the return on investment there. I think that might have been more to do with it. But
all right, well, the sooner's the better. I mean, I'm fine with 2024. Like I said, the sooner the better. For recruiting purposes, being in the SEC definitely bodes well for recruiting, in my opinion. And why not? Let's get in there and mix it up.
Well, you know, UCLA has been thinking about mixing it up with a barely skating by South Alabama in the almost upset column. I feel like that's one to look at. South Alabama, I didn't even know. Like, apparently they're 2-1. One of them is the UCLA win. But what's going on with Chip Kelly? And they are 3-0, but they feel like a soft 3-0. Like it could wind up being 3-9.
Like bounce house soft 3-0.
Is he treating this as a retirement job? I feel like this could be the case with both Kellys, but Chip Kelly just seems like he's kind of given up on recruiting for the most part.
Well, in their two other games, they dilly-dallied around for a little while. They were losing to Bowling Green for a chunk of the game, and then they just proceeded to blow out the other teams. So I mean, they have the talent, they have the skills, they have the lines, they have what they need. They're just not delivering it. And nobody sees it because there are truly, and this is not an exaggeration, 20,000 people in the 100,000 seat Rose Bowl. I mean, it's unbelievable. There are a lot of issues, strangely, with this team. Now, part of that is because it's 11 in the morning and their team hasn't been pretty good for a few years. I mean, there's a lot of excuses. But you know, just like what is going on there, I don't know what's going on with the fans. The team seems to play to the level of its competition a lot. So now that can work well, right? Because sometimes if you're one of those teams, and I remember USC's had these teams before too, you know, you can play to your level of competition who's number 1 in the country and play to your level of competition who's an FCS nobody. So, you know, you can go up and down. This last game was not a proud moment. Yeah, I mean, look at this picture of the Rose Bowl here before the game. Not a proud moment, but at the same time, with how many people are losing to the Sun Belt, they played a Sun Belt team. They battled with the Fun Belt and they came out with a win. So, And I mean, obviously, it got a little better during the game, but this is Troy Aikman pointing out this is an embarrassment.
Yeah, that's not so great. And yeah, 30. Yeah, I don't. That's rough. So I looked at their schedule, and they have some games coming now. They have a kind of I would argue an easier game coming up against Colorado. I think they probably get that one, but
hope so.
Yeah,
but their schedule's getting so Washington's looking good. They're ranked. Utah, they have to play Utah. They have to play Oregon. They've got some games coming up that this record could very quickly turn around. So let's go on to, we have almost upsets. Another one that we saw, Florida, 3-point victory against South Florida, USF. So Florida's been a tough one for me to wrap my head around. Maybe you guys can help me. Is this another example of what we just saw? Is this just are they just playing to the level of their opponent, or are there brighter days ahead?
I think all might be true. I don't know. Anthony Richardson, it's very clear at this point that he is still not a very good passer. He still has a long way to go in that department. I mean, he's looked phenomenal, running the ball and obviously all that, and he looked great in the Utah game. But since then, he's made some very poor decisions, really costly turnovers. It's really tough to watch, and just this South Florida game was just another example of that. And South Florida probably really should have won that game. They really shot themselves in the foot on their last drive, and obviously they missed the field goal, and that pretty much took the air out of it. Me personally, I'm not too mad about it because maybe they fire Jeff Scott and Dabo gives him a whole call and brings him back. But either way, man, Florida still has a long way to go as far as being a complete team.
Yeah, Richardson 2 picks. Yeah, just like you were saying, like 11.6 QBR. He did throw for some yards, but yeah, not exactly a performance that you would think of like traditional Florida quarterback and some of what they've done in the past 2 decades. But who knows? Maybe they'll shore things up. UCLA fan here commenting on what we just talked about. First, yeah. Chip Kelly. Yep. All right. So let's go to The Dream is Alive. The Dream is Alive. We have Kansas, who could be the first university, maybe ever. Tony, you're the historian here. Who could have the basketball national championship and the football national championship in the same year. It's at least been a long time, if not ever.
I don't know if any of them ever have. We'd have to do some research on that. But I think it's pretty safe to say Kansas is not going to compete for the national championship. But it is really cute that they're 3-0. I mean, they're a real team.
Florida did it.
Oh no, actually, Chris is saying Florida did it. Florida did it. Okay.
Well, I was going to say, Chris got to that. Florida did actually do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, in the T-boat. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yep.
All right, that was when I was living overseas.
Tebow, Joakim Noah, and that team. Those are some good Florida teams. I know this ain't a basketball show, but they were good.
Sorry, there were a couple years overseas I didn't pay attention to basketball.
Oh yeah,
I was thinking back like 50s, 60s. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think
it's good for Kansas though. And it was kind of really funny to me. The Kansas State fans on Twitter are really, really loud, and they've been very, very quiet in the last 2 days.
The short answer is no. Kansas is not winning the national championship. Can we move on? I mean,
that's fair. I just want to keep a little. I love an underdog story. I'm sorry. I love an underdog story.
I'm with you. I think what they're doing is amazing. Leopold's awesome. I hope they can hold on to him because he's going to be a hot name. But not winning the national championship anytime soon.
I don't know. The dream's still alive, so
The dream is alive.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, what would be really funny is if they beat Texas again. But I told you,
I ain't talking no crap about USC this whole time.
I know. I was just gonna not be talking crap, and I was gonna point out that Texas, like everybody in Austin, lost to Kansas before it was cool.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Texas is so much cooler than we are that they lost to Kansas before everybody thought that was cool.
Trendsetter University. Yep.
Austin is awesome. Like, of course, Austin would figure that out. I give Texas credit.
So, yes. So and by the way, thanks to everybody in the chat who's been helping us out, saying Florida and everything. Very nice. Beaver, yep. 3-0, yep. So polling. So we got a couple as we have last week. We have our polling segment. We just got the AP poll. We got Mark's poll. Mark released his video a couple hours ago on the top 25 that actually makes sense. The AP I thought looked okay ish. Michigan number 4. We like that. But there was, the key people were there. I didn't see anything too crazy with that one. Was there anything that stood out to you guys just as like these people need to be higher, these people need to be lower?
Rank App State. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's get crazy.
Rank Florida State.
I know we didn't. Well, you probably
rank Florida State, yeah.
But
rank the Beavs and Wazoo.
Yes, the Beavs.
Rank Syracuse as well. Syracuse should be up there.
Yeah, I mean, they at this point, I would. I mean, if I saw them in the top 25, I wouldn't, yell about it. Syracuse looks good.
Yeah, it looks like Florida State received 85 votes, so they're getting pretty close.
Have you seen Mark's? Mark has Syracuse way up there. The Beavs, he's got a bunch of Pac-12 teams in there.
I know. This is my favorite.
Power 5 wins.
This was my favorite top 25 that actually makes sense for Mark ever. I loved it.
But it's definitely not John's favorite. I'll tell you that right now.
I actually don't mind it because based on the logic of what he does, is he
be fine.
Strength of opponent like as the top thing. So, or as one of the top things.
No priors, no preseason stuff. So
right. Yeah. So I'm not sweating it. Once we start whooping Big Ten teams, then I think not that I'm going to say we're whooping everybody, but maybe Maryland we might be able to outscore Maryland by a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
Did Maryland beat SMU?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It was close. It was a good game, I think.
Really good game.
Yeah, and their offense is going to be terrifying. They, if it's on, Tully plays a great game when he's on. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think that Mark's rankings are for the most part logically sound, and the only one I ever really had an issue with was Bama, and we talked about it on air, and just because I felt that Utah State, was a decent opponent, and maybe Bama could have been a tiny bit higher, but that's literally the only issue I've had, like the only time I've like he gives good ratings. Don't sleep on we won't be sleeping on anybody, Daniel. We won't be sleeping on anybody because that's what I think we got caught. I mean, I don't know if we were sleeping on Michigan State last year, but we're definitely. Thank you, Shoelace, for your $9.99 donation. Thanks for doing the show.
Thanks, Shoelace.
We appreciate you for your donations.
And we appreciate all of your great comments. I'm always reading your comments.
We love having you in our UFC groups and our PAC groups. We love having you in all the shows. You're a lot of fun. You should call in sometime.
Well, and also we love having you on the Discord. Go ahead and do your spiel, John.
Yes. Well, first we do have another super chat. Dave Valensky. I think that Minnesota can beat Michigan State now. Very, very possible. PJ Flex got it rolling. So let's talk about Patreon. If you like what what you're seeing here, we do this type of stuff all the time, either via chat with our Discord, via a hangout like this, which we do almost every single night, which you can just hop on, and you even get access to betting, a betting guide with help with your betting. And all you have to do is, it's just a $5 membership. You go to patreon.com, you search Mark Rogers TV, and then you get to hang out with all of us. And it's a great time. And sometimes Mark even stops by at our stuff and says hi. So you never know what might happen when you do when you join Patreon. We all love it, right? Cool. So rankings are good. So I think we're at the everybody talks about their team segments. This is one of my favorite segments, and I'm going to go last this time since I went first last week. For everybody to just give a thought about their team and where they think that they're at right now. We'll start with Trojans. We'll start with Tim. We'll go Tim this time.
I think we're ranked a bit prematurely as high as we are. Again, we have been lucky to play. It seems like incrementally the offenses we're playing are getting a little more stout, a little more physical up front, a little bit better running game, and we're starting to see again, like I've been throwing on Twitter and talking about in Discord, is USC is trying to get their to get around this new defense, right? Anytime you throw a bunch of guys together from the transfer portal into a new defensive scheme and ask them out the gate to start, hitting those run fits, making sure that your coverage is sound, is going to be a tall task for all these guys, even though they're veteran players, to throw them all together and to expect it without there be any hiccups. We're seeing that. So once they can tighten up some of these run fits, once they get better communication when they flood a zone, then we're talking maybe top 10. But until then, I'm really nervous. We're going up to Corvallis, a place where dreams go to die if you're a Trojan. So I think with an amazing offense that they run up there, we will see. Someone help me off his right. I think it's Fenwick is their running back. That dude's a beast. And playing up against Jonathan Smith's offense is going to be always. We saw it last year. They crushed us in the Coliseum. So I'm really pleasantly happy with the offense. I can see your talk for hours. You don't give me an hour. If you guys want to see that, come watch the post-game show or the Pac-12 show. I'll talk more and more about just how disgusting our offense is, because I'll tell you what, I would like to see this offense tested against a really stout defense, because I like our chances. We've got I preached it to Mark. He got on board before the season started. And Matt Zemek, who's, if you guys aren't following him on Trojans Wire, he was on it as well, talking about how this offensive line, that's all a bunch of 6-year guys on this offensive line, absolutely crushing it up front, and which is something we haven't had since 2016. So we'll go as far as our defense can carry us, but the defense is getting better every game. We'll have a big challenge coming this Saturday.
Yeah, Tony, you want to add to maybe the challenge of the Beavers, or anything else?
I think there's a lot of challenges. Tim pointed out this is not a perfect team. This is a team that is growing and doing better, and every week in an amazing way. Like it's really remarkable what they've been able to do, but it is not a perfect team. And so, from that end, it's a lot more to go, but it's exciting, and it's exciting to have USC back. It's exciting to have Washington back. It's exciting to have Oregon State back. And, today's a bit of a rough day. It's a rough day in Boulder. It's a rough day in Tempe. But I think it's going to be good when we can get the Sun Devils and the Buffs back. I remember Keith Jackson being like, "Welcome to the Valley of the Sun," with that like voice of God. And we need that back in football too. And by the way, a quick thanks to Tide Guy, who was with us earlier. Thank you for the super chat. That's really kind of you.
So 49 Mexican pesos.
Thank you for the pesos.
Dollars. They're not on pesos. They're on dollars.
Oh, sorry. Mexican dollars.
We'll go get some. Get a taco. We'll have Mark go get a taco.
Yes, you are ahead. And part of it was my stupidity of not realizing that it was a spread versus a pick'em, but that's fine. So we'll shore that up next week. Don't worry. Got to get better. As Harbaugh says, better today than you were yesterday, better tomorrow than you were today, right? So let's hit. One that I'm curious about is the insight of Jordan for Clemson, because I am seeing some things with Clemson as like flashes of the national championship era, but obviously growing and changing with coordinators and everything. So what would you say is the key point everyone should know about your team, or the couple of them?
I think the biggest thing is Clemson is still searching for that complete game. Whether it's been they start out great the first half and then just kind of pack it in the second half, or they start slow like they did on Saturday, and then really turn it on in the second half. It's just finding that complete performance is still kind of the issue for this team right now. I think offensively, a lot of there's been a lot of talking points about Clemson's offense. It is, and they're treating it like it's the same offense from last year. It's definitely not. This Clemson offense is markedly better than it was last season. It's still not up to par, not considering the recruiting rankings and the talent that's actually on the offense. But it's a lot better than it was last year. And DJ Uiagalelei, he is QB1. It's official. It's decided. A lot of people were pushing for Cade, but these last 2 weeks, if anybody has watched those games all the way through, DJ is QB1 right now. And so I think, like I said, it's just putting together that complete performance. When you watch the offense, you see the plays that are right there to be made, and then there's just these minuscule like execution errors, like just somebody misses a block, or a wide receiver just drops a pass, or something like that. And so it's just, Dabo says it best, it's like, don't lose to Clemson. I think when Clemson misses a play, it's because, especially this year, it's felt like it's because they've beat themselves. And so I think the biggest thing is, finding that cohesiveness on offense. You got to remember, a lot of these guys have not played very much football together. This team was very, very banged up last year. And obviously there's a lot of new pieces, new faces on the offensive line, breaking in a new center for the second year in a row. But from game to game, I've noticed, marked improvement, but I don't think this team is top 5. And I'm sure a lot of people will agree. I don't think this is a top 5 team right now. They're probably a little overranked right now, but I think they're building into that kind of team. And it's going to take more work with the new coordinators and, everybody everybody figuring out their role and the personnel groupings and all sorts of that. But I think this team is really getting better. And we'll see what they look like this weekend, because this is when the schedule really starts to get real, and you can't afford to take a half off, because Wake Forest they didn't play great on Saturday, but they can put up some points. And if you're not willing to match them, if the defense isn't up to snuff, and the offense is in a position where they have to match them score for score, you got to be able to do that. So we're going to find out real soon whether Clemson is legit or this is just a team from last year. So that's it.
Well, if you want, you could have Dabo give Riley a call. We'll trade you some wide receivers for a couple, maybe like a nose tackle or a 3 technique. So you just give us a call. We'll have a conversation.
I love our defensive line. And speaking of defensive line, I want to give a quick shout out to Brian Brissy and his family. If those of you aren't aware, Brian did lose his sister this past Thursday to brain cancer. It was a really beautiful, display of solitude at Memorial Stadium on Saturday. Everybody wore gray, wore their Ella Strong shirts. Louisiana Tech's head coach, Sonny Cumbie, he came out and wore gray, wore her shirt. And the Louisiana Tech football program actually sent a whole box of handwritten letters, from
every player, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so
from every single player, every single staff. So I thought that was really beautiful. And Sonny Cumbie and Louisiana Tech, that was really touching. So I'll be rooting for them going forward. That was very classy of them. So just a little aside.
And one other classy thing that happened this weekend. You guys know about Spencer Webb, the Oregon player who passed away. There's a lot of issues with BYU as an institution, but their football team and their coach are really, really amazing coach. A lot of really neat guys on the football team. They came out with flowers that they put on the 4-yard line, and they actually took the field waving a flag in honor of Spencer Webb at Oregon, which I thought was just a really, really classy thing to do.
That was awesome.
It's nice. It's nice when you see those touches and those things. Like Louisiana, I thought that was so cool what Louisiana Tech did. And even Dabo said, like, it was a really, like, he seemed genuinely, like, touched by it. So it's just nice when you can transcend like, trash talking's fun. We all like to talk trash about everybody's teams and have a good time. But sometimes, like, things transcend that, right?
I mean, and as we get ready to play Oregon State this week, a shout out to Oregon State even a year later. When the Utah players passed away, you guys have seen the logo they have of the heart with the initials and the 22. Oregon State had giant signs of that made to decorate their stadium, and they decorated the 22-yard line and stuff like that. So, like, also, again, I know it's been a year, but kudos to the Beavs, because that was really, really, really classy. And I think it's important when we do that.
Absolutely.
For sure. So we got let's go Brandon D4 Sports. Thoughts on Texas? What's going on? How's that? Yep, let's do it. Yeah.
All right. We played UTSA this weekend. Not a bad team. Finished 12-2 last year. They came in, were very physical. It was hard to contain their quarterback. He's a veteran guy. Started off sluggish. I don't know whether it was the Alabama hangover or, just didn't really prepare as well as we should have. They come out and went on a 20-play drive to start out the game and ended in a field goal. They ended up going kicking an onside kick that we weren't prepared for, that our guys left early, and kudos to them for film study. They did exactly everything that they were supposed to do on that. Then they hit a double pass to go up, I think it's 17-7, and I mean, we came back in years prior. I can't say that we would have come back in a situation like that. I'm pretty proud of the way that we made adjustments coming out of halftime and pretty much put the game away coming out of halftime, and had to pick six. And Bijan Robinson proved why he's one of, if not the best running back in the nation.
Yep.
Put on a clinic, 3 touchdowns, over 200 all-purpose yards, and Roschon Johnson, being the leader that he is, made some key plays in there. We went to the Wildcat with him, and it's like I said, in years prior, even last year, we didn't come out in the second half and make adjustments like we did in this game. And we open conference play next week with Texas Tech. People can say what they want about Texas, and deservedly so, from the way that we performed in the past, 12 years. So it's all about us proving people wrong now. We have the chip on our shoulder, and we're going to go week to week and try not to overlook anybody. And it was really encouraging to see Quinn Ewers throwing before the game. And he was actually suited up. And I don't think he would have played even if it was an emergency situation, but just to see him throwing before the game and suited up, is encouraging. Hopefully we get him back. Like I'm hoping at least by West Virginia, just to get him some game reps before Oklahoma, because Oklahoma, even though they lost a lot, man, you got to give Brent Venables and that coaching staff credit. They haven't really played anybody to notoriety, but they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do against who they're supposed to do it against. And I think that's a key. I think that's a very, very key component to a season, beating who you're supposed to the way you're supposed to beat them.
Yeah, and after there have been so many examples in the past of teams after either squeaking out a win or a loss against a team like an Alabama, just completely the next week, just dropping one that they shouldn't drop. And you guys, to your credit, you may have started off sluggish in the first half, but you rallied, and I think part of it was the superior talent. But that, I mean, Bijan is going to be playing on Sundays and starting and making a lot of money in the NFL. So you credit to you guys for rallying on that one. So speaking of rallying, you got a dub, Will. So thoughts on your team right now? What are your thoughts now that you've some of the positive? You already mentioned the line, I believe, the O line.
Yeah, well, I feel like we can beat a lot of good. I don't know if we can beat like Clemson yet, but if we play like we did in the second half, I feel like we can beat like the vast majority of teams in our schedule. Like I feel like we can definitely be in a game with BYU in the fourth quarter if we play like we did in the second half. That first half was just awful. It was like the marsh. Thank you, Terrell. I appreciate it. Thank you, buddy. But I feel like we can, like that second half was like, this is what I want to see at minimum each game. So I feel like if we could continue that second half, I think we'll beat North Carolina. I feel like our secondary will cause Drake May problems as well as our D-line. And our offense just needs to score enough. Thanks, TVM. But yeah, I mean, our offense, of course, we were running the ball better. I mean, I think by the end of the game, we averaged 4 yards a run, which isn't good enough. But like if we only include that second half, it's a bit better. So the run needs to be as good as it was in the second half, and our D O line needs to be as good, and then our D and secondary. I feel like we can definitely knock off North Carolina and build on that and get better each week. I feel like we can be as good as all the top, like maybe not quite as good as the top 10 teams, but at least like a top 15 team with Drew Pine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen. You keep the hope high, and you never know what you might achieve, but at least it's a dub. It's something to build off of, like you said, and I think Marcus is going to be a great coach. It's just it takes time. You got to get he's bringing in all these crazy 5 stars and things like that over the next and top 4 stars over the next couple of years. So. I mean, I think it's looking up. Yes, I'm saying nice things about Notre Dame. That's okay. We can do that from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan. I'm only going to mention Michigan for 5 seconds because I got some heat for mentioning it for a minute on the last show. So we haven't played anything. We haven't played anybody yet. I get that. We haven't played anybody. But what I will say is we had the largest blowout in the big house in I think it was 30 years or a long time since because the Rutgers game was at Rutgers, the 78-0. So largest blowout, and we'll see what happens against a real offense, which I would call Maryland they have a real offense. And we'll see if we can hold up. I didn't love the line play. So there was some questionable O-line play, especially. And maybe Sharon Moore, with the fact that he has to now double duty with he's helping Matt Weiss called plays in addition to coach the line, that may be causing somebody like a Trente Jones, who only recently was named starter and won that battle, that may be impacting him a little bit. So that was a speculation there. But so the line play I don't love. I think we need to get better overall. You'll be able to hear more when we when D4 Sports and I do our Michigan talk, which will be coming in a couple days. But yes, non-con is pretty awful. Yes, it's bad. And I am holding out hope that we don't cancel anymore, and that in 2024 we can play Oklahoma, and 2025, 26 I believe is Texas, and then 27 is Oklahoma again. So. Those should be some good games. I think we're gonna have a good time. Come to Michigan. Yes, 9 played. Yes, a lot of people played, and that's good. That's good that a lot of people played. I didn't know we had that many quarterbacks. I think they were just letting people who were hanging out in the stands. I think Harbaugh was just calling people over towards the end of that game. But I think it's good that people were getting a little bit of experience. One of the announcers even said, like, this may be the only time this person ever gets to play in the entire tenure that they have at Michigan. So hopefully that they remember that. Yep. Yeah. Thanks, John. And yeah, we're definitely a major cupcake non-con. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And even the conference schedule is not exactly great. Iowa does look a little bit better than we thought, but I think Penn State is really going to be our like a real test. Michigan State's going to be a test. So we'll get there, but it's going to be like mid-October. Tide Guy, yes. If you haven't, yes, definitely check out the Pac-12 show and their USC show as well. Both are really awesome, and they do a good job. So definitely check them out. Thank you, Dave Valensky, for your super chat. Do you think that conferences will have challenges with each other like they do in college basketball?
I wish.
That'd be a lot of fun.
I don't think so, because they do the non-con schedule so far out.
Yeah. There's been some talk about changing how the non-con works. So there may be some revisions coming to that. But it's, like you said, it's tough when there's games scheduled out to 2036 and beyond, home and homes that are being scheduled. So that may be difficult, but thanks for coming by, Dave, and thanks for contributing. That means a lot to all of us just to see that people like the show and that we're having a good time. So I know that some of you are in chat and elsewhere are on Eastern time. So we're actually going to wrap it up, and everybody's going to give their closing thoughts / where can they find you. So we're going to go around, and since I started with Tim last time, we're going to start with Will this time, and we'll go Will. Where final thought, and where can people find you, Will?
Final thought is that a lot of people are doubting my Irish, and I can't wait to come back. Hopefully after a win against UNC. We gotta attack that Gene Chizik defense, man. There's a lot of offense to be desired this week. And also follow me on YouTube at WillND.
Okay.
Yeah, I only have one stream right now that I've done, but I definitely want to do at least one stream a week. I want to start to do that. So
awesome. So if you guys just drop them in the chat, I'll post them on the them on the thing. So they can find you at WillND. That's awesome on YouTube, and so definitely everybody should check that out and subscribe to Will. And get all the latest takes on Notre Dame and anything else that any other insights and intel that you might have. Let's go, Brandon, D4 Sports. Final thought: where can people find you?
Yeah, man, you can find me at D4 Sports on YouTube and the D4 Sports on YouTube or Twitter. I do live shows on Wednesdays at 8 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Jordan is there. I do weekly previews with Jordan. I do it with John, Tim, and Tony, and LBC. I have a lot of. I think I have a lot of good content on there on my channel. So if you guys want to give me a shot, I'll have Jordan put the link in the chat, and give it a shot. Go over there and subscribe, and hopefully you enjoy the content. And like I said, I cover about 10 to 12 teams per week, and really enjoy what I do. And thank you all for being here, and please jump on the Patreon and come chop it up with us.
Absolutely. We have a great time. D4, what's really cool about your channel is that, you really bring in that insight from being a coach yourself. And I think that adds like a whole new lens for all of our teams. And it's definitely helped me when we talk about Cade versus JJ and like how you handle that kind of stuff. Like that's really cool stuff that I think a lot of people like to hear about. So definitely check out D4 and some of the content that you got, because it's good stuff.
And I'm just gonna second that. D4 understands like the actual sport behind it and what the coaches are doing and the actual strategy of all 11 players on the field. And to an extent that I will tell you, almost no professional journalists do, and certainly almost nobody on YouTube. So the insights that you get from his channel are absolutely top notch and spectacular. I can't tell you how often he says something and I kind of dismiss it, and then I literally watch it happen during the game in front of me, and I'm like, oh, why did I doubt D4? Why did I doubt him for a minute?
Which is amazing because he's actually defensive coordinator. Who would have thought?
Yep.
There you go. Jordan, final thought, where can people find you?
Well, like D4 said, I'm on his channel a lot. We do a show called College Football Across America on his channel at every Wednesday at 8:30. So be sure to check us out there. Like Brandon said, I also do previews for Clemson as well. You can also find me on the Clemson Voice of College Football channel. So make sure to check that out. Make sure to give that a sub. We do a pregame show and a postgame live show every week. So with me, Tiger Paw Craven, DeAndre, Smitty. So make sure to check us out there. We talk Clemson. If you're interested, you want to get a pulse on how Clemson is doing, what the fan base is thinking. Even if you're not a Clemson fan, it's a great time. So I'd really appreciate you guys check that out. And then you can also find me on Twitter at Jobo0209, which is on the screen. I mainly tweet about Clemson, but I also tweet about college football in general. So feel free to give me a follow. And once again, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. It's been great.
Yeah, it has. Let's go Tony next. Where can people find you? And final thought.
Yeah, you guys can always find me on Twitter or any social media at TJ Altimore. It's like Baltimore, but with a TJ instead of a B. I had like 3 racist people get angry and unfollow me. So always glad to have new folks. Hey, I just want to thank you guys for spending some time with us. And I really want to thank everybody from this chat too, who's come out for our Pac-12 show on Wednesdays and our USC post-game lives that we've done with Mark's channel right after the USC games. We'd love to have you guys for those. So on Wednesday nights, it's a lot of fun. We talk about the Pac-12, and on Saturday nights we talk about USC. But we want to have you guys participate. It's not for you to hear us. It's for everyone to interact and to talk and to chat about the games going on during the day. So in the week. So we love having you guys, and I want to thank you. And I also want to thank you guys, like I said, for spending some time with us tonight. It's been a lot of fun, and we look forward to it and love meeting all you guys from all around the country. Fight on.
Well, the other quick thing, and Tim, you might be able to chime on this too as you give your final thought. But one thing that maybe some people might subconsciously be a little bit worried about is like if their team isn't Pac-12 or they feel like they might not have as much insight on the Pac-12, like they might be worried about calling in or not calling in. But you guys are really welcoming about really making it inclusive and anybody's welcome if they have something to share, right?
We do. We love having other folks, and we try to keep generally on the topic, but you guys know the way football is, things spill over and interact because it's an ecosystem that all interacts together. And the other thing that we think really makes a difference is when folks understand about other teams and other regions of the country that they don't normally, they find cool things. We did a really fun thing last week. We had an interview with a Stanford tree. So for those of you guys who haven't seen it, you can find it on Mark's channel. So this kid who's a junior at Stanford is CEO of 2 video game companies. Yeah. And in his spare time is the Stanford tree.
That's crazy.
And so we had a fascinating time talking to him about the video game industry, about football, about how you become the Stanford tree. He planted himself in a planter on the campus for a couple of days. Like, I mean, just just really, really fun stuff. And so, so it's neat that folks get to see some of that. And so we try to help you guys see some of that about teams that you might not ordinarily see. So we're glad to have you guys.
And Tim, I bet you have some of the same sentiments, but please give your final thought. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me just on Twitter. Feel free to join me on Twitter. It's just T Prangley Jr. At T Prangley Jr. Feel free to my DMs are always open if you guys want to talk sports. I get some random ones about random things once in a while, but I do enjoy all of you guys that have reached out to me. We have some great conversations. Tony covered all the shows that we are doing. But one more thing on the Pac-12 show, we really invite everybody because I think you've all on YouTube have seen these echo chambers you have when conferences talk about themselves. It's really good to hear criticism and praise from the other fans around the country. So we do try to make it inclusive, and sometimes it's very, very insightful for us as Pac-12 fans to hear maybe some of our own blind spots. So absolutely, please join us for that. Also, we have about 146 people on right now. We'd really love to grow this show. We have a great time doing this. None of us are compensated really for this. We're just sports fans that love this, and our goal here is just to get Mark Rogers' brand as big as possible. So please hit that like button if you haven't already done that on your way out to help grow the show. And finally, last thing, Michael made a comment. Everybody on this panel right here is a part of the Patreon, Mark Rogers Patreon, and we're in the Discord. As a matter of fact, the link went out in the Discord today. We'll say who's coming to the show. So if you want to be on the show, please feel free. Join the Discord, join Mark's Patreon, enter the Discord, and the link is literally sitting in our Discord. So that's the community we're trying to build. We're trying to help out Mark, who's an amazing source of knowledge and entertainment. So you can do both those things again by hitting the like button and making sure to watch all the shows.
And I just dropped the Patreon link right in the chat, so you can literally just click right there, go straight over, pay $5, and become a member. Mark will send you a Discord link. There it is. Mark will send you a Discord link. It's really quick to get in, and then you get to hang out with all of us and chat college football 24/7, 365.
And it starts Saturday morning, bright and early, and goes into the early morning on Sunday morning. So
Yeah.
if you're a college fan and you really want to have a good time, it's $5. I mean, seriously, if you're hurting for $5 out there, send me a DM and I will pay for your first month. But I guarantee you, if you do the first month, you'll be up.
Yep, it's true. So I'm John D'Adamo. You can find me Twitter at John D'Adamo, JOHNDADAMO. I'll post that on here, but really just wanted to thank you, everybody on the panel for taking time out of their night to be here. For the people in chat who have, you could be anywhere right now. For some of us, it's like midnight plus. You could be anywhere. You could be sleeping. You could be out. You could be doing whatever you want, and you chose to spend some time with us in our little Brady Bunch situation here, right? So thank you for donating. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing to Mark's channel. It really means a lot to all of us, to Mark. I know it means a lot to him, and let's just keep growing this thing, guys, and let's just keep onward and upward. So thank you all so much, and I think we're going to wrap it up there for the night. And join us next week on the next After Dark for more shenanigans, and whatever breaking news, we'll cover it, and whatever awesome games happen, we'll cover it, whatever upsets, and look for it next week. Thanks everybody so much. Have a good night.
Night, y'all.